Welcome to Empirical Peapod. I'm your host, Tim Day. This is my first episode ever. I'm very nervous and awkward. I'm already screwing everything up, but I'm trying my best and hopefully I'll get better. Or I'll quit. Either way, let's get into this first episode. I don't want to waste a lot of your time or mine. Let's do it. Alright. We're gonna give this a go. Episode 1. Empirical Peapod. See what happens. I already hate everything. Not for real, but like, what a pain in the ass. I'm afraid to move or touch anything. It's gonna make some absurd noise, and I'm gonna hear it, and then you're gonna hear it, and I'm like, ugh. Yeah. Anyways, so I just wanted to kind of start this first episode, and I don't know, similar to like the way I've been posting blogs. Like, the idea for the show is definitely to have guests talk about stuff. It's always going to be friends of mine, and just kind of free-form conversation. Like, I have a genuine or a general idea for each episode, but then just kind of see what happens via conversation, and where things go. It's kind of one of the exciting parts for me is to we all kind of have a group of friends, right? And everybody comes from different walks of life. And I just like the idea of exploring that and kind of seeing how these relationships form, how they stay together. Like, a lot of our group has been together since like kindergarten, and then some of us plugged in at junior high, some of us plugged in at high school. But it's a pretty insane group that's pretty tight. And I'm excited for you to get to meet them and to know them, because they are all incredible people. So that's kind of the main idea. And then intermixed with that will be some solo shows here and there, where this is stuff that I would normally put on like a blog. So usually when I write a blog, I've got like an idea, and I just kind of write. And whatever comes out, comes out. I don't reread it. I don't proofread it. It's basically like a brain dump, where I don't want to get stuck in it or start editing it. I just kind of want it to be what it is. And I kind of want to do that same idea here when I do solo shows. Obviously, I'll have to zhuzh it up a little bit here and there, just so it's not dead air or ridiculousness. Kind of even play with the idea of maybe some background instrumental music. But then I think, like, I'd probably get caught up in that, and then be like, bobbing my head to that, and forget I'm even supposed to be doing something. But, I don't know, man. Like, it's all kind of a shit show. The whole point was to just jump in and give it a try, and that's what this is. So good luck. The first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, because I've been kicking around a blog idea anyways, and I'm like, well, we're on the apex of trying a podcast, why not save it for that? And again, because I'm an absolute asshole, I'm zero prepared and just kind of have an idea, and we'll see where it goes. Weaves in and out. Maybe it'll make sense, maybe it won't. Maybe this will be the one I record and never release it. But today's concept, the main idea, is this idea of home. Now, home's an interesting idea because it's kind of like it's like it's the center of your universe, really. Your own personal little journey. Everybody has their idea of home. It's a place. For some people, it's a person. But everybody has their concept of that and what it means to them. And usually it's instilled from a young age, where you feel safe. Your parents take care of you. And you kind of have that home experience. And then as you grow up, hopefully they set you up for success. And then you create your own home experience for your kids, or just for your significant other, or for yourself, whoever the fuck you want. But that's kind of the idea. And along the way, my personal journey, that ceased to exist. Or realistically, it probably never existed. It's just something that I never really thought of or put much weight in. Don't get me wrong. Like when I was a kid, everything was fine. Like it was what it was. It was fun and simple. But then as you grow up, you kind of hit a certain age. Like by the time you're in the middle school, you start realizing things, and it's one of the things. I teach. I don't teach. Don't listen to me. I'm an idiot. But I work in a middle school as an assistant, and the reason I love that age, like kind of between 11 and 14, is it's really the first time that you're realizing that adults are full of shit. Like your parents don't make sense. Most other adults don't make sense. The teachers don't make sense. And that's not a bash on teachers. Like there's amazing people out there. Just like anything, there's amazing people and there's dog shit people. Like that's fine. That's anything you look at is going to have those two options. But I like this idea of the first time where you're really like, this person doesn't make sense, and you kind of have to make a call, right? You either internalize that and don't talk about it or let them know you've realized it, or you become outspoken and act out and put a quote-unquote problem child for a time, and hopefully at some point you straighten yourself out. And that's kind of what happened to me. Is I kind of became more introverted, and I started realizing that things were not what they're supposed to be, whatever that means. Like a stereotypical, normal, loving home where people get along or are encouraging and stuff like that. Like that's such a foreign concept to me. Like I grew up in a pretty abusive house with a psychopath for a father, so it was never home. And I'm not here to get deep into that. Like nobody cares, and it doesn't matter. It's so old and whatever. Like we moved past that, but just the idea of home was kind of maybe not stolen's the right word, but like definitely warped. And it kind of stayed that way for a long time. So after high school, like I was one of those ones that couldn't wait to get out, but then like didn't leave. And by the time I left home, well, actually we all left at once. So everybody, my parents divorced, and all of us moved in separate directions. And I ended up with my brother and his wife for a short time, which was a whole other ball of this isn't going to work out. That I also doesn't need to get into. It also doesn't matter. But again, no home. This is a definite, you're a guest here, and since we're helping you, we kind of own you. So, which is pretty common. Like if somebody is helping you out, usually they like to feel like they have a certain sense of ownership over you. Like somebody loans you a bunch of money, and then they see you spend money, like because that's how you live, how life works. But they get a case of the ass, or they start thinking they have a say over what you spend your money on, and it's unfortunate. That's a sidebar for you. Don't help people unless you're comfortable losing whatever you're giving, whether it's your time or your resources. So that didn't pan out either. So I still was like, I don't understand home or like safety really, and I think it really triggers a pretty intense anxiety because everything is temporary. So during this time I started kind of backpacking around, and I literally lived out of a backpack for the next few years. Now that sounds dramatic. It's not. Like I stayed with various friends in various amazing places, and it was actually really, really fun, to be honest. Like you're supposed to kind of look at these days as like quote unquote failure, or like you hated it, and it was so much fun. Like because you didn't have anywhere to be or go, wherever you were was like the spot, was the hot spot. Like there was always something going on, there was always something to do because you didn't have anything else to do. Just honestly probably why now that I'm older, I'm like, not that I avoid those things, but now I'm like, it's not, I had such a fill of it for so long that now I'm like, I want those smaller, intimate gatherings where I can actually talk to people, not where it's always like wild. Also, we're all way older now also too, so nobody's partying like we used to. But that was, I feel really lucky to have been through that and kind of backpacked it around and get to know certain friends even better or stay in certain places. Like, I stayed with people for like a year or two that honestly I didn't even know, and they were amazing. They were the best people I've ever met, and they even let my band, because of course I had a band. What unsuccessful dickhead floating through life doesn't have a band? So they even let us practice in their basement. It was literally a girlfriend at the time's friend who I kind of knew, and her mother, who I had never met, let me stay there for an extended period of time and have the band there. Like I said, they're some of the most incredible people I've ever met. It's insane to think about how that even worked out, but it was really cool. It's a really cool experience to kind of do that. And I live with my friend Lindsay and her family, the Bruce and the Donna, who are also some of the most incredible people you could ever meet. Here's another sidebar for you. Because this is all based on my friends and people close to me or that mean a lot to me, you're going to hear me talk about people being the most incredible whatever all the time. Because they genuinely are. So it's going to get annoying. So just be forewarned of that. They are genuinely, every single one of them, unbelievable and incredible. And I can't not let you know that. So I stayed with Lindsay for a while, and which was cool because I got to get really close with Lindsay. Same thing, like her and Armine's friendship at that time was new, and we were just getting to know each other. But she's amazing. Her parents are amazing, and she'll be on this show at some point. There's definitely an episode planned. Sometimes she's a little flaky, so we'll see if we can get her in here, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point. Now, after all of this, so eventually this all goes away, and at some point my mom bought a place, because she was out in Wheaton after the divorce, and I'm like, who the fuck wants to live in Wheaton? So then she bought a place in DeKalb, because nobody wants to live in Wheaton. Everybody loves DeKalb, which, of course, is wildly untrue. But she's still here to this day. So I had some ideas of things I wanted to do with my life and where I wanted to take it. So I left and moved out and stayed with my mom for a while, which I've done off and on for way too long in my life. Which is another thing too. Like, people stereotypically are like, "Oh, if you live with your parents, you're a failure," which is fine. Like, if you're gonna call me a failure, or if I am a failure, fair enough. But there's also a flip side to that I think is not talked about enough. That you kind of move away and then that's it. And one of the things that I always really enjoyed, like when my grandma was around, especially my mom's mom, I loved just talking to her. Cause it's like, how much do you really know about your grandma and her life, And I really liked it. Like, my grandma loved movies, so we would talk about movies all the time. So there's kind of this idea, like, if I would have had an opportunity to live with my grandma for an extended period of time, I would have jumped at it. Because it would have been awesome just to, come home and sit there and just pick her brain. She laughed at the most inappropriate things. She loved the worst movies. Like, she loved music too. Like, couldn't hear lyrics, but she just liked music. She was awesome. But it's kind of the same idea now, where it's like, I'm lucky enough to spend a bunch of extra time with my mom that I normally wouldn't have, because I would have had a family, or I'd be out on my own. And I've been out on my own at various times. And don't get me wrong, it's just as annoying as it is awesome. But there's going to be a payoff there. It's, at some point, she's not going to be here, or I'm not going to be here. And I think we'll really, the extra time we got to spend together will have been really meaningful and important. But I digress. So I ended up back out in DeKalb for a spell, and my car was totaled and not drivable, and I didn't have any prospects, and so everything was kind of put on hold. And I just got a job locally, and I just walked there until I could fix my car, or I bought a new car. Is what I did, and because that's no matter what happens, as cliche and dumb as it is, at some point you're done being a victim and you just bootstrap and you fucking move forward, right? When you're ready. You don't have to hurt yourself about it or beat yourself up or get anxious or depressed about it. Feel how you need to feel, and when you're ready to do better, do better. And that's become an annoying theme of my life. Is all right, let's start back over. But there's still, even coming back to my mom's place, there's still no feeling of home there. Like we've kind of, at this point, you've removed the dark cloud over the house, which would have been my father, who at this time lived out in Sandwich. But it still didn't feel like home, right? It's still just like, oh, you're just staying here for a while. And then that's never really gone away. I've lived with other friends off and on. And even over the last couple of years, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. I bought a place a couple of years ago and had my own place. And same thing, it just never felt like home. Now, like, you could argue that there's reasons for that. Like, I was with somebody that literally passed away like 4 days after I closed, and she was in the process of moving in. So, like, that's kind of a kick in the balls, right? That would kind of ruin any experience. But I stayed there for 2.5 years, and it was, every day was just like, I'm just getting away with this. At some point, somebody's going to realize the mistake, and I'm going to have to go. And eventually that did happen. I was working at a factory, and they didn't want me there anymore. So as I was walking out, called my friend to sell my house, and I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. So even then, I fucked off to Colorado for a while, and that was fun. But it was just a vacation, a couple of months. But it was so refreshing and like so incredible, and I'd never been there, so it was a beautiful time. Also, not without its annoyances. On my way there, I had a wheel bearing blow up and almost kill me on the highway, and then I got stranded in Nebraska for a week. So I depleted a ton of money staying in a hotel for a week, having to have my car fixed over a week because in Nebraska, everything is slow as balls. Oh my God. They are not in a rush for anything. Like, I don't have a lot of great things to say about Illinois, but like, we're so close to Chicago here in the suburbs. Like, we gotta get shit done. Like, it moves, and we have stuff to do, and it's important now. That does not exist in other places. So even that was a doomed situation, but something beautiful that was doomed, kind of like any life or flower, where there's death built into it, but it was an absolute incredible experience along the way. So that was recent. So back to the other stuff, you can kind of see there was never going to be this home feeling, and recently I've kind of noticed that more. I did live with one particular friend that I lived with a couple of times, and when I lived with her, that felt like home, and it was the only time in my life. This is something that's still new to me, kind of realizing this, and I've talked to her about it as well, so it's not, I don't want to make anybody feel weird, but it was the only time that I'd ever felt like home, where it was just like, two people doing what they do separately, and absolutely loving their time together. We would sit up at all hours of the night just talking about nothing or stupid stuff or watching the TV or listening to music. Like, it was this amazing companionship, I suppose, that I had never had before, and it kind of changed the whole perspective. Where I packed up all of the stuff I owned when I was 18. And to this day, I just turned 40 in April. I've never unpacked. And I've lived at tons of places. I've had my own house for years. And I've still never unpacked. Like, I periodically go through and throw a bunch of stuff away. Like, I'm trying to minimize as much as possible. But I think it's incredibly telling to think that I've never once unpacked. Like, I dated a girl, even, we dated for a couple years, and she bought a house, and we lived together, and she had a kid, and we were like a little family unit. And even then, like, I never unpacked. It never felt like it was going to be permanent. Like, everything in my life is always for now. Like, it's definitely going away, and you definitely don't deserve it. So suck it up while you can, because it's on its way out. And again, that sounds more dramatic than I mean it to, because I spent a lot of my life genuinely feeling that way, which sucks. But there's not really a way around it either. Like, that's just how I came. That's what I took from how I came up. I feel differently now, but that's also new, and I'm kind of navigating that. And geez, just sitting here listening to myself sounds so annoying. I'm already so sick of saying but and it's gonna keep happening. It's like a comma for me. It's like a comma you can hear instead of seeing. But god damn, I'm already annoyed with me. So I'm gonna apologize right now. I'm sorry I have to sit through this, but I'm gonna keep it going anyways, because fuck, it's episode 1. It's supposed to be a shit show, right? So, no home. I'm like an orphan. I'm like an orphan with a good family. Because my mom is fine. She's great. You know, whatever. She has her annoyances, just like I have mine, just like anybody would. You know, lucky I have a great sister also. You know, she's fine unless we're bumping heads, which is rare. But when we bump heads, it's... Ooh. She'll be on the show too, and hopefully that doesn't blow up. I don't think it will. We'll get more into about my dad and stuff with her, and learning how to, or talking about cutting out toxic people, no matter how close they are. But yeah, so this idea of never having this home except for this one kind of image of it that didn't last very long, I think is interesting. It's really interesting to me to have never had that again. It's probably why I really gravitate towards that particular friendship. Like, she means so much to me. She's amazing. And just I feel like she's one of the only people that I know that, like, understands me or gets me, which is also weird. Like, that's kind of comes with the whole blah that we've been talking about, is this idea that I've never really felt understood. And once again, there's two options, right? When you don't feel understood, you either close yourself in, or you just start acting out, because any attention is good attention, right? And I've always been one to shut myself off. I come from an abusive house. If you act out, you're going to get your ass kicked. So I learned very quickly to internalize and keep my nose clean and just shush and just don't. I'm supposed to be seen and not heard. But it was such a difference to be around somebody that, like, even when I was doing things that I know are quote unquote triggering, like, I can be very sharp and very abrasive, and, you know, like anybody can, like, you don't mean it, it's just how you react to certain things. And I would never intentionally hurt somebody, and I would never want that to be what's happening. But sometimes you can get lost in your reaction, or you can just get, you just do what you do, and then you kind of wade through it if somebody's willing to. So, and she's never been offended, and never taken anything I've said personally, and really gives you that opportunity to say what you need to say, and then we'll we'll decipher it afterwards together as a group, if you will. So I feel incredibly grateful and lucky for that. And that's kind of the next point is grateful. Because you can kind of hear all this and feel some kind of way, and that's up to you. You know, stereotypically, like, oh, or woe is him, or who cares, or, you know, whatever you're triggered by or relate with. But I feel really good. I'm just so grateful to be a part of anything. And by part of, I mean experience-wise. Like, any experience I've had, you know, I've been through plenty of things that were absolutely devastating, crushing, you know, just, you just feel like it's something you're not going to recover from. And some things that you don't recover from, you just carry around with you from now on. But every single one of them, I'm so grateful for. Like, it takes a million miracles to make each moment, and like, just to be a part of that it's something that gets lost constantly, and it's nice to kind of be able to step back from yourself and be like, oh, okay, there's absolutely stunning things happening constantly, and it's really easy to miss those. Like, there's so many experiences I have, like, just out in the world, where I'm like, wow, this feels like it was put here just for me to notice. You know, and that's always been enough for me, is to notice things. Like, I don't try to save things or hold on to things or, you know, manipulate things to something that they're not. Like, I just want them to be exactly what they are, and I want to enjoy them for that, and then let them be whatever they need to be. And I kind of try to do that in every context of my life. Like, even with my relationships with people, just accepting people for who they are, and letting them be that, and empowering them to be that, and not trying to interfere with that or turn them into something that they're not. Even like this idea of relationships, which is a whole other ball of bullshit. Like, holy Christ, I don't even want to think about it right now. But we'll get into it at some point. It's the same thing, though. Not trying to bend somebody into what you think they should be, or what they could be, or what they might be, but letting them be what they are and loving them for that. And that's another thing that goes back to me constantly explaining how amazing everybody is. I'm taking them for as they are, what they've shown me, and who they are as a person, and kind of reflecting that back to the world, and just being like, they're so amazing. I don't want them to be anything but who they are. And even when you go outside and, like, you can see, well, just little things. Like, I went fishing the other day, you know, and the lake opens at 6, and I like to get there at 6, and I like to hit the road by 5:30 because the sun rises around there. You know, and I'm lucky when I drive to work. When I go to work, the sun's in my eyes. When I come home, the sun's in my eyes. And that might annoy the living piss out of most people, and it is annoying, but I get to see the sunrise every single day, and it's genuinely as simple as perspective. Like, oh, the sun's in my eyes, I hate everything. Or I get to see the sunrise every morning, you know, and be a part of that. And a lot of people are missing that. A lot of people are still there with me driving to work, but they're not seeing what I'm seeing. And they're not getting what I'm getting out of it, which is fine. They don't need to. I'm not trying to push anything on anybody or to make something that isn't there. I'm just saying that there's so much all the time around us that I feel like we miss. And I think that gratitude and being grateful for that it's just incredibly important. So, I don't know, man. This, like I said, this is kind of just an introduction. just kind of wanted to. Well, one, it's kind of a test if you want to get technical. I do hate listening to myself talk as I do this. I'm gonna hate it even more if I have to ever edit anything because I sound like an absolute jagoff. But I love the idea and I want to pursue it. So I'm trying to get over myself and just do it because I've got some really good ideas. I've got a whole. What I want to do is kind of with this main show is, like I already said, having guests and stuff. But I don't want to just do an episode every week until I'm dead. I'm not rich. I actually have a job and a life. But what I do want to do is kind of break it out into seasons. And so I've got 26 episodes mapped out, which will basically give us 6 months. So that's half a year. So I'm thinking for the main show, doing like a 6-month season. And then I've got a couple of other shows also that I want to explore that'll have not guest hosts. Like it'll be me and another person doing this show, and then me and another person doing this show, or just another person doing this show, and kind of all being under this Empirical Peapod banner, so that there'll always be content, even in the off times. Even if it's something simple where it's like, I had a friend who wanted to talk about her struggle with a drug addiction, particularly, and I was like, cool, like put together a 6-week show. Give me an hour a week that'll run for 6 weeks, and let's put it on. Like if you want me to be there to kind of help you and to kind of push it along where it needs to go, or if you can just map it out well enough to just talk. She's crazy. I don't know if we want to give her a live mic and let her go, but I love this idea, and I want stuff like that as well. So if I can empower other people to kind of be like, okay, yeah, here's this platform. I have something to talk about. Boom, let's do it. Let's get it done, and let's get it out there and see if people relate to it. See if people care, or maybe people are just like, hey, this is awful, and nobody wants to hear about it. Then that's just another answer, and we move on. I'm big into trying things. I don't measure success whether things work or not. To me, it's just try everything. Everything. If you have an idea, run with it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. Because if you just keep running, eventually you're going to have an idea that does pan out. Like it's insane to think about. There's so much room in the world, and there's so many things that don't exist. Don't hold back your ideas. Like we need them, and you've got to bring them to us. We're waiting, basically. You've got amazing ideas, just put them out there, and I'm not trying to come down on anybody. I'm the same way. I've had this idea for an annoyingly long amount of time, and I'm just now jumping in, attempting episode 1, and it makes me so upset to think about all this other stuff. I bought a bunch of not high end because I'm poor, but I bought a bunch of equipment and did a dry run and hated it. I returned all the equipment and bought all new equipment, and I'm like, this is all secondary. Like, don't worry about all the extra bullshit. Like, that'll come later. Just get your idea out there. Like, I could have literally just recorded a thing on my laptop with a headset that I play games on. I don't need all this whatever fancy stuff. Like, just get it out there, and then we can smooth it out later. You know what I mean? It's like just throwing a big glob of sand into a sandbox, and then we'll come by and we'll rake it. We'll turn it into a Zen garden later. but you've got the ideas, and you got to get them out there. Like we're all waiting for it, and that's my point here, as I'm trying to live the same idea, and I hope it resonates. And if it doesn't, I'll fuck off immediately because I don't want to stay where I'm not wanted either. Also, at this point, feel like I'm droning on. I don't really have like a plan for length. Kind of goes back to what I said about my blog. I just kind of let them be what they're gonna be. This feels like I've talked for a long time. It's also, since I'm by myself, it feels like way too much, and I'm sick of hearing me. So ideally, I figured I would want the episodes to be an hour, but that might be like with a guest, an hour with a guest, because right now it's been like a half hour, and I'm ready to blow my brains out, and I don't want you guys to get to the same point. So I'll probably call it here. It means the absolute world to me to have this opportunity. I hope something resonates with you. I hope you're excited. Is maybe the wrong word. I'm excited about what's coming. I have a better idea about what's coming. I guess I could say get excited about what's coming, and we'll see how it goes from here. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all. Bye. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. It means the absolute world to me. If you feel so inclined, please subscribe. It already meant the world to me that you listened to it, but that would be even double world. I don't know, but thank you so much. We'll see you next time.